Dimetrodon Milleri has now released into Path of Titans. This is a small version of the current mod, which is Dimetrodon by the Wrath of the Goliaths team. It's made by the same team. This is basically a little teeny tiny one-slot version of that with some differences here and there. So let's go ahead and check it out. In terms of the species, you've got Milleri, which is minus 5% sprint cost for Permian species, Lumissi, which is plus 10% health regen for sailed carnivores, and Natalis, which is plus 10% status heal for semi-aquatics. Then you go back to Milleri. The male and female coloration difference is here. Now this mod is absolutely teeny tiny, especially when you compare it to its rival in terms of, you know, carnivores at one slot, which is a one-slot Deinonychus, and this is a baby Deinonychus next to a baby Dimetrodon Milleri. Now, Dimetrodon Milleri gets one attack at standard, which is this, but you can customize other abilities. You get a bunch of passives which you can go through. You get this prickly sail ability. You can change your sensors from the get-go, your front limb, your hide, and your voice, and diet from the get-go. However, you can't use the extra slots that you get given in that. That being said, in terms of the damage for the baby, this is what it does. Only a little bit of damage. It does a little bit of bleed as well. I mean, this will quickly stack up against smaller creatures like this Deinonychus. If you want to compare the Deinonychus's damage to the Dimetrodon's damage, it's something like this, which isn't too bad, but it looks like the Dimetrodon definitely does a lot more damage to babies when you compare it. It's like double the amount of damage there. In terms of calls, these are them. Now, for the abilities, Dimetrodon Milleri gets a handful of attacks. You get 3 options on the head, 1 on the front limb, and then you get a vocal ability as well. Then you get some other general stuff which help with swimming or your passive senses, and equally this one is really good as a group creature, mainly for sailed or Permian creatures, and I think there's only 2 other Permian creatures in the game that are mods. You've got Inostransevia and Dimetrodon. I don't think there's any official Permian creatures in the game. That being said, let's have a look at the abilities. So you start off with the passives. You've got Nathan's Favorite, which is where you're able to dive underwater and ignore uphill movement decrease and increase speed when moving downhill by 10%. Then you've got Solar Power, which increases speed by 5%, jump height, and decreases fall damage by 20%, reduces incoming knockback by 40%, and increases dealt knockback by 30% during the day. Then you have the final one, which is Prickly Sail, which increases booking stamina drain by 40%. This effect doubles during daytime. Then you go to your head abilities. You have Bloody Thrash, which is a ripping bite that deals moderate damage. It duplicates damage if enemy is bleeding. Deals 30% of the damage dealt as recoil to you. Then you got Leech, which is the standard bite. This is a quick bite that deals medium damage and moderate bleed. On hit, it restores 5% of your hunger. And then you've got Maul, which is a tearing bite that deals major damage and low bleed. For your sensors, you then get Inferior Species, which increases ally Dimetrodon Grandis, which is the big one, damage by 5% and bleed by 25%. Nearby Dimetrodon Grandis deal 30% less damage to Dimetrodon Milleri. Then you've got One for All, which decreases ally Permian species, sailed carnivore, and semi-aquatic stamina drain by 5% during daytime, and stamina drain is reduced by an extra 10%, excludes you, however. Then you got Primordial Life, which is where allied Permian species get their health increased by 10% during the daytime. And then you got Sailed Flock, which is where all allied sailed carnivores get their armor increased by 5%, extra 10% during daytime. And then you have Swimming Lessons, where allied semi-aquatics drain their stamina 25% slower while swimming. Moving into your front limb, you get 1 attack here and then 2 passives. The attack is Artery Gnaw, which is a quick bite that reduces enemy bleed heal by 30%, jump height by 50%, and increases their fall damage by 50% for 15 seconds. Then you have Expert Diver, which is while you're swimming, it increases acceleration by 75% and turn by 15%. During daytime, it increases swim speed by 15%. Then you have Sharp Scales, which reduces damage taken on back, rear, and tail by 30%. For your metabolism, you get Permian Generalist, which allows you to eat meat, noxious meat, insects, fish, and shellfish as well. You pretty much eat pretty much all meat sources aside from carrion by the looks of it. You go to your hide, you get 4 options here. Solar Cell, which is where allied Permian species, sailed carnivores, and semi-aquatics have their stamina recovery increased by 25% during the day. Then you have Soothing Vapors, which is where all allied Permian species, sailed carnivore, and semi-aquatics have their health recovery increased by 15%. Effect doubles if you are wet. And then you have Sterilizing Glare, which is once again the same. Permian, sailed carnivores, and semi-aquatics have their abnormal conditions heal increased by 35% during the day. And Surfing Sail, which doesn't affect any of the creatures aforementioned, but it's when you're wet, it reduces damage taken to the sail by 30%. During daytime, it increases swimming speed and turn by 25%. You go to your voice, you get Shrieking Death, which is when you're near a corpse, afflicts closest opponent with a 75% attack damage reduction for 30 seconds. It does not affect other Dimetrodon Milleri, and they've spelled unaffected wrong, but we're not going to talk about that. Let's go ahead and showcase the attacks off. So in terms of the attacks, this is what you're going to be looking at here in terms of damage. So far, the ones that we have equipped are Maul and Bloody Thrash. These aren't the standard attack, but Maul is the one that deals major damage. So this is the major damage that we're talking about on a 1-slot, very low combat weight Deinonychus. And it's got about a 1-second cooldown, so this thing can absolutely rip and tear through smaller creatures. And it does a little bit of bleed as well, so you have to bear that in mind. It's not a lot of bleed, it'll expire in about 3 seconds, right about now. There you go, so it's really short, that bleed. But when you run on stuff, it will be exasperated. The next one is Bloody Thrash. Now, this deals a decent amount of damage, but deals a lot of recoil. Now, if your opponent is bleeding, it will deal more damage. So, if we do it like this, that's how much damage it does standard, but if you want to have your opponent bleeding and then do it, it will do a lot more damage. And you can do it again, and you almost kill your opponent there. So you have to combo Bloody Thrash with bleeding, and it does a monstrous amount of damage compared to that. Finally, you have Leech, which is your standard bite attack anyways. In terms of damage, this is how much it does. And for the bleed, it does a little bit of bleed. It definitely is quite noticeable. I think at the moment it's at about 10 seconds of bleed looking at the computer next to me. But yeah, that's how much damage it will be dealing there. Once again, it's a high damage dealing attack. Now, in terms of the damage being dealt before moving to the final attack, this is how much damage the Deinonychus will be dealing to the Dimetrodon. And as you can see, it is a lot less than the Dimetrodon itself, but it's still a decent amount of damage. You have to think about the mobility of a Deinonychus. How will it work? They're about the same height, and if it's able to get more attacks off, it will be able to comfortably take on this little Dimetrodon. Now, of course, the other attack is Artery Gnaw, which is this, which does about the same amount of damage as the Deinonychus is doing to you, but it's got a 4-second cooldown. Now, bear in mind, this, I believe, reduces the bleed heal rate of your opponents, and that's why it takes a little bit longer to do there. Now, the Dimetrodon Milleri can do many other things. Obviously, mobility-wise, this is what you're looking at. So it's quite mobile, and if you want to have a look at this turning circle, this is the turning circle there. It's pretty decent. It's a very tight turning circle. It's definitely going to be pretty competitive. Jumping is pretty good as well, so you can jump over smaller opponents like the Deinonychus. The stamina drain while jumping isn't even that bad either, so you can just like spam the jump a little bit. But the other thing that this guy can do, you've already kind of expected it, it can swim. Now, this is what it's going to be like at the moment in the water when you're doing, you know, just normal swimming activities. So this is the current swimming speed. It's pretty decent, but it does get a little bit better because you can specifically spec this up a little bit more. So if you go into your abilities, you can spec this up more. You've got Expert Diver, which increases acceleration by 75% and turn by 15%, and swim speed during the day by 15%. Then your sensors, you also have Swimming Lessons which will help out a lot here. Now, I don't think there is much for the hide aside from this one, surfing sail, so you want that one as well. But other than that, in terms of your swimming, that should be it. And now look how fast it is. It is a lot faster in the water compared when you did not have any of them abilities on. And it can do a little leap out the water. That's not on purpose, or, you know, it's completely by accident. It's just the angle that you hit the water. You don't have a lunge to leave the water. It's just the way you come out of it. Anyways, this thing does have some other stuff that I need to showcase, and that is the grab and pounced animations. So let's showcase them really quickly. We'll start with the pounced animation. So when you're pounced, it looks like this, and this is what the booking animation will be looking like. So when you're booking, here it is. And it drains the stamina of the Deinonychus massively. That was very, very quick from pretty much full stamina there. The other thing that we need to showcase, of course, is the grab animation. So let me grab a dinosaur that can grab this Dimetrodon. So we are now grabbed by a Hatzegopteryx, and this is what it looks like while it's grabbed. And this is the booking animation there. And there you go. That thing drains really, really quickly. Let's try that again really quickly, just to properly show it off when we start booking straight away. So let me grab again, and we just start booking instantly. So that's 1 book, 2 books, 3, barely even 3 books to let go of the Dimetrodon by that hat, which is insane. And you know what? If I want to bite him, that's just how much damage comparatively you're doing to, like, a Hatzegopteryx, for example, with some of your attacks there. Even throwing the archery or while you're at it, and yeah, it's not a massive amount, but it still is pretty strong, especially when you are a very small creature. The final thing we need to showcase are all the skins. So, there are a lot of skins that this little guy has. So, let's go ahead and showcase them all. The first one is the default skin, which is this. Then you have Isis, which looks really nice. I love the coloration on that. Spotted is next. Cristatus follows. And then after that, you've got Gecko. Rigu, which is a very nice skin. Ashen, which I really like this one. I love the blend of the greys for this one. You got Benjamin, another very nice skin. I think my favorite one so far is Ashen. Yor is next. Tourmaline is after that. And then you got Striped. This one's really nice too. Albino, the Melanistic, and then Terracotta. And I'm not going to lie, Terracotta has to be my favorite skin out of all of them. It just looks great. I love the mesh of the colors here. And then Ashen, I would say, is second, followed probably by Isis, I would say, which is completely random because I'm missing some of the cooler skins. Benjamin comes in fourth in terms of the colors that I normally like. So everybody, this is the Dimetrodon, and it is now available in Path of Titans. This thing is tiny. It's like if this thing was hit with a shrink ray, like normal Dimetrodon hit with a shrink ray. Look how tiny this is compared to the Hatzegopteryx. If I had the other Dimetrodon, I'd be able to properly showcase the size comparison there. But this thing is a little tiny one, so I love the way it runs, the way it kind of kicks its legs out. And when it sits and sleeps as well, let's quickly showcase that. And there you go. That is that. That's the sitting and the sleeping animation. Look how cute it is. It's like a dog with a sail. But yeah, everybody, that's Dimetrodon Milleri. Go check it out today. I don't know what servers it will be in at the moment, but you can check it out in the mod menu and in single player. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you are new, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.